start off with a quick statement.
Yeah, obviously, thanks so much for coming out. We're really excited about what's gone on here in the last couple months as far as guys getting ready. We're a couple weeks away from having that 4-hour period of time a week lifted to 20 hours where we officially start practice, and we couldn't be more excited about having a throwback game and honoring our past and playing a game here in Barnhill. We think it'll be awesome for the fans, and again, there's just so much tradition and history here that we kind of wanted to have a fun night, and hopefully everybody will enjoy it, and we'll open it up for any questions.
I guess, Eric, what was the inspiration for this? Was it your idea? Did somebody mention to you how'd this come about?
I mean, I think that any decision that we make is always, our whole staff, like the coaching staff, the administration, marketing. We're constantly trying to throw different ideas at each other and come up with different things. I've stated a ton that growing up in San Diego, California, as a young person, that Arkansas was a I know all the history really, really well. And, we felt like a throwback night, our players wearing Team Eddie and Team Nolan uniforms, and maybe we can get the fans interested in dressing up, in some throwback gear themselves. And I just felt like a traditional red and white game. It's kind of been done in the past, and to do something new and different. And this might be the only time that, we play basketball back here, and so it's a kind of a neat thing.
As far as your schedule that was announced in general, just, what do you feel about it, and how much do you feel the non-conference will prepare you for the SEC?
Yeah, we feel like it's a very challenging non-conference, especially when if you look across our conference, there's not many teams that are playing or programs that are playing 3 true road games, and obviously I've look back in the history of Arkansas's basketball schedule, and there's not a lot of years where you have 3 true road games. You might have some neutral site games, but and then we feel like some of the programs that are coming in here to play in Bud Walton are challenges as well. There's a lot of programs that we feel are going to win their league or have an opportunity or a chance to win their conference, and so that becomes really, really important as you get towards March and Selection Sunday type deal. Is you want to at least put yourself in a chance. And when you look at some of the people that were playing, Northern Kentucky, for instance, is a program that's won a lot of games. They got a lot of starters back, so we feel like it's a really, really challenging with the road games, and then playing TCU here at home. It's a challenging slate in our opinion.
Do you have any particular recollections of watching, big games on TV that were in Barnhill, or any players, from those 70s, 80s, early 90s?
Well, there's no doubt with the triplets, and just having the opportunity to, to fly the Hall of Fame, last week and sit with Ron Brewer Sr. and to sit with Marvin and talk stories, and a lot of the players in that era I'm so familiar with, and I remember cover Sports Illustrated, and there's no question that those 3 guys in Sydney. I mean, somebody my age that loves basketball, you're going to know who those 3 guys are for sure.
Did you get a chance to tell those guys in Springfield that you were going to play a game in Barnhill, and if so, what was their reaction?
We didn't get a chance to talk to it because administration, we were still trying to figure it out. This was something that we've kind of talked about for a while, but still wanted to try to work out the logistics part of it, and we're still trying to find a date and a time, and so we really didn't want to talk about it externally to anybody until we knew we were going to do it. And it was really yesterday morning when we decided that this thing was going to be able to happen, and so I haven't talked to him yet about it.
I think I
So you tweet this, but your dad recruited Sydney to Minnesota.
Yep,
Is that right?
one of Sidney Moncrief's visits was to the University of Minnesota. The problem was it snowed in Minnesota, and it was like mid-September. So I think when he got a hold of the snow in mid-September at a football game, he decided Arkansas is probably a better place for him.
Are you hoping to have some of the former players come back for the Red White game?
Yes.
Guys that played in here, because a lot of them live, in the state.
Yeah, no question. I had a great talk with Coach Richardson the other day because one of the first things we wanted to do is make sure that I wanted to make sure that he thought it was a good idea, and he certainly did. And he talked about a lot of the things that he had done in the past from a marketing standpoint and so forth. And yes, we're going to reach out to as many players as we can, invite them back. Without a question, that's something that we're going to start doing, as early as next week.
I think there would have been, kind of a new vibe about the Red White game in Walton, just because it'd be, fans' first chance to get a look at you guys. But having it in Barnhill, are you expected to be kind of electric, or a little more, juice than your normal inter-squad game?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the reason that all of us as a group felt that it would be a good idea. Is again, once you've done something for 2 or 3 years, you always want to try to come up with something new, and we think that for our students to see a basketball game in here, and then it's not just about people that have seen games in here in the past, it's also about some people that have never seen a basketball game in here. And so to me it's going to be a great night. It's going to be different, it's unique. We want to have fun, and hopefully as we get closer to the game, we'll continue to come up with some new ideas to make that night a special night.
Coach, do you have details like on the logistics, getting the hoops in here, the floor, obviously because it'll be in the middle of volleyball season? What are you guys looking at getting this place ready to play basketball?
I mean, I'm not really an expert on what we're going to do. We're probably going to be some baskets that aren't really anchored down, so we're not going to be doing tomahawk dunks. But we're going to play a game. We want it to be competitive because we're going to use it as an evaluation tool. But we'll probably, use some tape, but it'll look good. But obviously, with volleyball being in season, we don't want to do anything to disrupt that at all. And but again, I think from a cosmetic, it'll look really cool by the time we start playing the game.
You said you were hoping fans might. I guess Arkansas played in here from the 50s into the early 90s. I mean, do you have you want a disco theme or an 80s theme, or what would you like to see people, or 60s hippies? What would you like to see people wear?
I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet, but eventually we will. We're going to come up with what year we want this thing to kind of look like.
Would you maybe wear a wide tie and a checkered
I'm already ready.
Yeah.
But I'll come up with something else. I mean, I thought you'd be impressed by this, Bob. No.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. Hey, is there any update on Connor Vanover's waiver with the NCAA?
So there's been no update at all, one way or another, and so we'll just continue to wait and we're practicing as if he's a transfer and would have to sit out, but we're hopeful that we'll get a different word, but right now it's about practicing. It's about Connor getting better. So whether he was eligible to play or whether he was sitting out, we'd still have the same approach from a player development standpoint right now, and we don't really need a decision until about a week before, because we're gonna practice a certain way and really not do our game prep stuff until about a week before we play Rice.
The NCAA kind of moves at their own pace. A lot of times it's not the fastest pace. Are you confident you guys will get some kind of resolution to it before the season starts?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that there'll be a decision before the season, and we're, like I said, we're not really internally, we're not talking about it at all, because it's a matter of how do we get our guys better from a player development standpoint, and we're not really zoned in on, is JD Notte playing or not. We're just trying to get better as a group.
I saw the other day your guys worked out with the track team. I don't know if that was a one-time deal or if they'd been. How did that come about? Did you go to the track coach and say, "Hey, we want to"? What was going on with that, and how did you think that went?
It went great. Our guys really liked it. A couple of our players tweeted out about it, that they really liked it. It was unique and different. I just think that from a basketball standpoint, things can get stale, and you always want to try to kind of jolt them, let them have some fun. That's why we did, boxing. That's why we've done spin. That's why, we want to try to always get them a little bit out of their comfort zone, but where they're also having fun. And then that's, the neatest thing about college athletics. Doesn't matter what sport you're coaching on a college campus, but it's really a family. And some of the track coaches are my friends. We live in the same neighborhood, a few of us, and we were just talking one night about basketball players and how they run, to be honest. And I think that our guys learn something, even technique-wise, running. And so we talked about doing it more than once. I don't know if we will, just because of time constraints with them and us. But it was good for our guys. I think it was good for camaraderie. I know that now our guys know the track group a little bit better, and vice versa. And I think that's the neatest thing about being on a college campus.
Was that last week, or when did you guys do that?
It was Monday. Yep.
About your coaching staff, when you were hiring your 3 assistants, what kind of appealed most to you specifically about those 3 guys?
Yeah, the questions was about the assistant coaches. I talked a lot with administration about our staff, just because Hunter and John have been doing college athletics for long, and they're experts at it. So I wanted to get different perspectives, not just, a perspective of my view, but I did for sure wanted a former head coach at the Division I level, and obviously Corey Williams checks that box, and I wanted a former NBA player on staff. I felt that was important from a recruiting standpoint, and it was important for our guys that want to play at the next level. Corey checks that box. And then I wanted somebody that I had worked with in the past that knew our system and knew our terminology and our play calls and how to put in drills. And obviously Clay Mosier and I have worked together at 6 or 7 different spots, so he's overly familiar with in-game situations and how I would react or what we want to do on wrinkles in plays late game and so forth. And then Clay, having 17 years of NBA experience, is really big in recruiting, to have somebody that was, on a staff coaching LeBron James last year. And then obviously Coach Crutch, I felt that it was overly vital to have somebody that had coached and recruited in this region and had done it at the Power 5 level. And obviously Coach Crutch, coming from Oklahoma, filled that box. And so we feel extremely excited about who we have as a staff, and I think that they're a really good complement because they all have completely different backgrounds.
Yeah, speaking of your staff, I think I got this right. Your son's the recruiting coordinator, but then you also have a recruiting director. Obviously, recruiting is important. I'm not sure I've ever heard of that. Is that just an indication of how much you stress recruiting, or what?
Yeah, I think that the college athletics, when you look at staff sizes, regardless of the sport, they continue to grow. And when you think about recruiting graphics, a lot of recruits are getting graphics on a daily basis. Even 4 years ago, when I started at Nevada, you were doing kind of mail outs and maybe a graphic once a week for one of your top recruits. And so social media, touching your players in different areas, we're always trying to find new ideas, and I think both Pat Eckerman and Michael, both those guys, because of their age and being close to the same age as the guys who are recruiting, are vital. I'm 54 years old, and what I think might be really cool, it's good to have those 2 guys saying, hey, that ain't so cool.
Same lines, there's been some pretty funny pictures of you on Twitter, like recreating famous photos. Is that something your idea? How the recruits pick what poses, or how does that go down?
Yeah, it was really interesting. A lot of the stuff we do that's outside the box just kind of happens organically. And one of our recruits, obviously can't name names, but he kind of had the ball in his hands, and I got in a defensive stance, and someone took a picture, and then some national media guys picked that up, and then we had a recruit come on campus, and he thought it was a scene of an NBA situation, and then right when that was brought up, it was like, all right, bang, here we go. And so it's turned into now recruits that have not been on campus are texting us and saying, "Hey, coach," and they'll send a picture and say, "Can we do this scene if I come on an official or an unofficial visit?" So it's taken on a life of its own. It's been great for the prospective student athletes. The high school guys love it. We don't ask anymore. They actually come to us with what they want to do, and you know, everybody in the country's taking a picture with their arm around a recruit, and now this kind of separates us. And the great thing is, if anybody tries to emulate it, it's old news. So we kind of started it, and we're going to keep rolling with it, and no copycatters.
Yeah, getting back to the schedule, I mean, just how tough a schedule do you think it is? How challenging? I guess you kind of want to like a final. Like, you got to win games, but you got to have a good enough resume to make the NCAA tournament too.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly feel, you know, playing at Georgia Tech, playing at Indiana, playing at Western Kentucky, some of the mid-majors that we feel have an opportunity to win their conference, and some of the games were already set up, you know, before we got the job, and then there was some that we put together. And so, you know, Anthony Ruda does the schedule, and he does an incredible job. If you look at the schedule at Nevada, over the last 4 years, we were actually a model that a lot of people have used. He does a great job of looking at the numbers and trying to figure out where a team will project to be. And, you know, we really don't want to play anybody that's not a top team in their own conference when you talk about teams outside of Power 5 programs. So we're trying to play people that'll challenge us for SEC play. And our philosophy is not to pile up wins. Our philosophy is how do we become better as the season progresses. And we understand that conference play is overly challenging in this league right now, but we want to challenge ourselves. I mean, we don't want. I've been a part of a staff where they just tried to figure out a way to get to 22 wins, and I've done that, and that program didn't make it to the tournament. So that's not the goal is not to try to pile up wins for the media guide. The goal is to try to challenge our players and to try to give our fans really quality games, whether we're playing at home or on the road.
Last one. You gotta get the practice.
Was that your first time going to the Hall of Fame induction deal, or had you done that before? And what was that whole experience like to be up there?
Yeah, the Hall of Fame was an awesome experience. I had never been there before. We had a great time on the plane, team bonding. It was a long night because after the ceremony, we went back. John and Kevin and myself and my wife and Sydney and his family and his inner circle, we went back to the hotel and had a little conference room, and everybody shared stories, and there was management from the Milwaukee Bucks, and it was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And then personally for me, then you get to meet and see a bunch of people that maybe you haven't connected with in a long time. And I know for Ron Brewer, it was really big too, for him to connect with some of the guys that he played against and played with in his NBA experience. And probably the coolest thing of the whole experience was how appreciative Ron and Marvin were to be able to go, on the team plane and to celebrate and to be a part of it. Those guys, it was really cool to see how excited and happy they were, to go and be a part of it.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, you guys.